back to Speak Candidly. Here's Brandy and Adam.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Speak Candidly. I am Brandy and this is Adam, and this is where we speak candidly about everything we want to. Hi.
How are you doing, beautiful?
I'm good. How are you today?
I am wonderful.
How you feeling?
I am feeling much better.
Good.
I had surgery last week,
Yeah.
so a little better each day, each and every day. And hopefully in no time I'll be back to 100%.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm glad things are going so well.
So what do we got going this week? We have another monthly installment.
So before the world got turned upside down,
Right.
we talked about going ahead and doing a Women's History Month episode like we did for Black History Month because we very much like the format.
Right.
We want to bring attention to people who we don't necessarily talk about frequently in history, to highlight those who have been forgotten for their achievements and their contributions to society throughout history. We also do this because the reasons that we have these months to celebrate groups is because we've been on a journey, especially within our own country, to try to reform ourselves from the segregation and the misogyny and the racism and all of the things that separate us as a society, which is why we have these things, right?
That was deep, man.
Right?
That was really deep.
It was.
No, I agree with you, and I like the segment that we did for Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely wasn't one of our more popular ones.
No.
But I like the format of it because you and I like to learn.
Yes.
And with these, it's not about the popular ones that everybody knows about.
Mm-hmm.
It's about finding people who have really contributed, but whose names kind of fell through the cracks that we don't know quite as well.
Yeah.
As some of the more famous ones. So we get to kind of learn a little bit, about some people that should be highlighted more,
Mm-hmm.
that just aren't for some reason or another.
And also to kind of take a look at the way society looked at things so differently, like we're going to get into that with some of the women especially that we're going to talk about today. We'll start off with Sappho. Sappho is a Greek political lyricist.
Mm-hmm.
So she likely born around 630 to 750 BCE. It's around that area. We don't have a lot of great records for Sappho.
Right.
But we have a lot of scholars throughout history who have studied the fragments of her work that do still exist. And she is accredited with being one of the most influential poets of Greek history.
So because we did an episode recently on genius, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that era and the whole ancient Greek era was just a gold mine for brilliant people,
Mm-hmm.
Aristotle, Socrates, Plato,
Mm-hmm.
Archimedes. And she was even prior to them, she was one of the great minds in ancient Greece.
Right.
Right, even prior to any of them.
Right. Now, the significance of her isn't just the fact that she was so good at lyrical poetry. She wrote about women and her love and her appreciation and sometimes obsession with women. And she came from the Isle of Lesbos. So they referred to her as lesbian.
She was the OG lesbian.
She was. In fact, she, to this day, without even realizing it, is, doing so much for a community that she didn't even realize that was going to exist at one point. You know what I mean?
Well, and that was the thing about the ancient Greeks was they were a lot more tolerant of these things. This was not an abnormality. This wasn't something that was looked down upon in society.
These were societally acceptable forms of love.
Right.
Like it wasn't looked at as a sin or an outcast of society.
Right.
We know that she definitely had an education. So there was a very real possibility that she was of some aristocracy or nobility.
Right.
Unfortunately, again, because we don't have a lot of records of her, but we do have a lot of her work being used, quoted, examined, and referenced by so many scholars throughout history that we know her work is hugely significant in poetry.
Yeah, she had a big impact.
Yeah.
And she's one of those historical figures, even if we don't have the totality of her work
Right.
still existing.
And again, this goes back to, was it because she was a woman that we did not care for her work like we would have if she were a man?
I'm going to say it's probably a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there might have been some of that, but I think there's also, you know, I don't think we have the full works of Plato and Aristotle,
Right.
and a lot of the other minds at that time. So, you know, you definitely do lose, you know, you're in BCE,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're going to lose some of that knowledge transfer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm sure some of it was also, you know, the fact that she was a woman and throughout time, you know, some of that got lost.
I'm sure. I'm definitely sure. So we'll jump to the next one. We're going to stay in Greece.
Okay.
We're going to go to Gorgo,
Gorgo.
who was the wife of Leonidas, the Spartan king that most people are very, very familiar with because of the movie 300.
300.
And if you saw that movie, or even the sequel to that movie, you know that she was very, very influential, not only in persuading her husband, but persuading the Senate too. She was considered a brilliant mind of her time.
Yeah, that was 300 is one of the great documentaries of all time, right?
Oh my God.
Just completely historically
Those
accurate.
abs, all those abs on
All
those
those
men,
abs,
they're-
they were
that's exactly what Greek abs look like.
totally. Yeah.
Airbrushed and all.
No, but I think, and yeah, that's a big joke because the Battle of Thermopylae was a historical event,
Right.
but that movie just took so many
Liberties.
in what they did that there's really not a whole lot of historical accuracy. However, she was one of the pieces to that is actually, you know, fairly accurate. She was a very big part of.
They did her justice.
They
yes.
did her justice, right? She was a very big part of that society.
Mhm.
Even before Leonidas left with the 300 on their little stroll,
Mhm.
you know, she was traveling with him to the other Greek states, you know, to do work. And then when he left, she kind of helped run things, get the Senate behind, you know, the cause to
Mhm.
actually get more soldiers. So, and then obviously once he died and their son
Mhm.
was eventually going to take over, she helped with that transition as well. So, yeah, you got a pretty badass Spartan woman.
And so this wasn't a woman who would have stood out within her own society either. Spartans were notorious for treating their women and men, especially at young ages, exact same.
Yeah.
They were trained the same. They were educated the same. They were given everything equally because it was imperative to Spartan culture that you fed the body and you fed the mind of all of your individuals to create better individuals.
Well, they had a philosophy that if both your mother and your father are both physically and mentally, you know, prepared and, you know, ready to go, that produces a superior child who
Right.
is physically and mentally capable, you know, of great things.
Yes. And they show this through their society and how they treated women especially, right? Not only the training, but the way that someone of her status, she wasn't just a figure, you know, she was educated. She's even credited with being the first female code breaker.
Yeah, there was a story. Somebody, I forget who it was. Somebody was exiled, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they found out that the Persians were coming,
Mm-hmm.
and they sent a message,
Mm-hmm.
but it was encoded.
Right.
Right there, they had I don't know if it was a tablet or something, and then the message was on that, but then they covered it with a layer of wax so that if it was intercepted by the Persians, they wouldn't realize what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It made it back to the Spartans, and they were all standing around going, "What is this?" She was the one to think, "Let's melt the wax," and then boom, there was your message underneath.
Right. And she was on it to figure it all out.
Yeah.
So
She put that together. Now, she was her husband Leonidas was also her half uncle, which is pretty fucking weird, but for that time, I guess was fairly commonplace.
In all of history, when it comes to all societies, there has always been a standing thought that to keep your bloodline strong, you keep it within the family. And I don't think it was until we had the Habsburgs that we realized, like, oh, this is not keeping it strong.
I think they still have that philosophy in Alabama too.
But yeah, so it would not have been looked at differently to marry within your family.
Doesn't make it any less fucking weird.
It doesn't. It's very weird.
But you're right. You're right.
Again, you're looking at societal norms.
Right.
That we don't
have today.
We don't practice today
Right.
for obvious reasons that they
Right.
didn't understand back then.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It doesn't take away from her genius. It doesn't take
No.
away from, what she was able to contribute to the Spartan society.
Right.
And to women's history, let's be honest. Like, we don't talk about her nearly probably as much as we should.
Well, did she have the abs that Leonidas had?
Probably. I mean, you can spray paint that on a cow if you wanted to, right?
So who do we got next?
We are going to talk about Boudica, who is the queen of the Iceni,
yeah.
Iceni Britons. Established in London. They were a group that a lot of times under Roman rule, her husband was the ruler of this land.
Right.
And on his deathbed, he was leaving his empire not only to his own children, his daughters, but also to the Roman Empire. It was something that was just traditionally done to kind of keep alignment. However, the Romans, they did this chick dirty as soon as her husband died.
Well, technically, the Romans had a way of, when they conquered you, they let you keep your kingdom until you died, at which point you were supposed to leave it to Rome.
Right.
And he didn't quite do that. He left it to both Rome and to his daughters.
Right.
Which they just kind of ignored.
Right.
And just decided to take what they wanted to.
Not just take what they wanted to. They ended up flogging Boudica. They assaulted her daughters.
Right.
And this just catalyzed this woman into mama bear rage.
You don't fuck with a mama.
No, you do not. This woman gathered up 70 to 80,000 Britons and went after the Romans.
Fucked them up pretty good, too.
She did. She's historically given the distinction of having the most influential uprising against the Roman Empire of all time.
Yeah.
So that's really significant that, one, it was done by a woman, right?
Right.
And two, against the Roman Empire. She didn't win, obviously. She was conquered. Unfortunately, but she put a hurting on them.
Yeah.
Before they took her down.
Yeah.
So that is huge.
Yeah,
and we don't talk about her.
You don't fuck with a mama bear. You
No.
you don't do it.
No. There's a statue of her in London on a chariot, ready to raise hell for the sake of her family.
Yeah, statue looks pretty badass.
Yeah. Yeah. We did see it when we were there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'll try to post a picture of it up on the video. So if you're watching the video of this.
Yeah, when we were in London, we had the ability to actually check out that statue.
Yeah.
And learn about that history a little bit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put her on here because, one, significant. Two, awesome, badass mom. All right, now we're going to do our last one. Freddie Oversteegen. So Freddie Oversteegen, we're jumping to World War II now.
Yes.
So this was a kid. She was a freaking teenager. And this kid was running around, her and her sister, shooting up Nazis. Caught the attention of the resistance in the Netherlands, and they went to her mother, and they were like, "Hey, we want your kids to join."
Well, yeah, it sounded like, so her parents divorced, and the mother raised the girls, and seems like was a very, feminist type of mother,
right?
Raised little warriors,
right?
And they they were hiding a Jewish family. They were very involved in the resistance. They caught the attention
Hmm.
of some leaders from the resistance
Right.
who kind of recruited her in. Her and her sister. They were completely badass. They had like dynamite, and they would destroy bridges and railroads, and then they would lure not just Nazis but Dutch sympathizers into the woods with like promises of sex,
Hmm.
and then fucking kill them.
Right.
Which
These kids,
that's awesome.
these teenage girls.
Yes.
We're taking them out. She never talked about how many.
No, she would not.
She would never disclose.
Never
She
brag
would
and
never,
give
yep.
numbers.
Nope. She did it for country.
Kind of gives a whole new meaning to body count, though, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
The fact that this kid at like 14 killed her first Nazi
Yeah.
while riding her bike.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, but then they had like a coordinated effort, right? It was her sister and their one friend.
Mm-hmm.
And like she would go into taverns and like lure them out, right? Let's go take a walk.
Mm-hmm.
And then would bring them into the woods where there was the trap of the other two.
Right.
And they would fucking kill them.
Yeah.
Which killing Nazis is always a respectable trade.
No matter what country you live in.
Yeah, no matter what country, what time.
Unfortunately, she did not get the recognition for the national treasure that she really truly was, until 4 years before her death.
Yeah.
She died at 98 in 2018. So 2014 is when the Netherlands finally acknowledged, her efforts in the war.
4 years before her death, because she died in
Yes.
1918, right? So 93 years old.
Yeah.
And yeah, it wasn't till 4 years before her death that she started getting the recognition that she so well deserved.
But she didn't care that she didn't get the recognition. That's not what she did it for,
You don't kill Nazis for the recognition, you kill it for the love of the game.
She was very successful.
And she was very good at it.
They were known for the willingness to disguise themselves and take dangerous action, especially for their young age. They helped shelter and transport Jews as well as resistance members.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just about the murders. They were doing many, many other things too.
Yeah. That was just the added bonus.
Right.
But they were actually doing a lot of the other resistance thing. And like I said, destroying bridges and trains, right? A lot of the work. And it's there's value to having that in a resistance, because you see a little 14-year-old girl as like a soldier, you're not going to think twice. You're not going to think this is a potential threat.
Right.
So they're able to get in and out of places that other people would not.
Right.
That would raise eyebrows.
Right.
They're able to do things. They brought us a certain value.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
To what they did, yeah.
The element of surprise, was 100% there, because they, again, just what you just said, no one is going to expect a 14-year-old girl to be your assassin.
Right.
That just, they would never have ever believed that.
I mean, we have daughters, so I've expected that at times, but
I've trained them that way.
yeah.
She and her sister did spend the rest of their life educating about the dangers of fascism and the importance of resistance.
Yeah.
So she did make sure that she took what she did do and use it as well for good.
Yeah, seems like an extraordinary individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely worthy of the list.
Definitely worthy of the list, and someone that we should definitely talk about more often, Like what this kid was able to do for her country is beyond amazing. Like that takes guts. That takes so much that at 14, I know I didn't have,
How do we have like 14 Spider-Man movies, but we don't have a single movie about these young women?
Right.
That would be awesome. That would be a great movie that I would absolutely watch.
I wish that movies about heroinism were popular. I mean, the reason that we don't have that many of them is because they just aren't. I mean, a good example, look at your Marvel movies. The Marvel movies are awesome. They all do really well, with the exception of the ones that are just solely about women. They do the least amount. They don't pull in as much money.
Which is a shame, because some of those were some of the best. Like
Yeah.
we've watched all of the Marvel shows and movies,
Mhm.
and not Wonder Woman 1984. That one was terrible. Okay, but like so many other of the Marvel
Yeah.
shows and movies about women were some of the best. Like I really like them.
Yeah.
And you're right, they don't bring in the money,
They
and so
don't.
therefore they don't do them as often.
Hmm. Societal norms, we
Yeah,
gotta break societal norms and make it normal to be a heroine. Make it normal to have, been a resistance fighter for the Dutch, and it shouldn't take until 2018 to get recognition for that.
but again, that would be a great movie. I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
like Inglorious Bastards,
With teenage girls.
but teenage girls,
Yeah.
and factual.
Yeah.
I'd watch the shit out of that movie.
Right. Maggie Gyllenhaal needs to do it.
Sure.
Come on, Maggie.
And would you get like Jenna Ortega to play?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, she would definitely be good at that.
I think that would be a good one. So what else now? What are your thoughts now? Obviously, I'm, straight white cisgendered male, right? Um, what do we need to focus on here? What do we need to change in order to kind of
So
push things forward?
So right now, and especially in our American society, we're kind of at this pinnacle point with women where we're kind of starting to question our roles again and our rights again, and that's concerning, right? Um, there's a lot of concern for a lot of minority groups in America right now. So I think that the significance of the establishment of these months is probably a little bit more important now than it has been in the last several decades. Because we don't want this regression. We've been fighting so hard to make it a more equal society for everyone so that everyone can profit and prosper and make our country great, right?
Right.
Because you can't be great if you're not including all of your people in that. It just doesn't work that way. And so that's why we're doing these things, to shine a light on those who don't get the light shined very, very much on them to begin with, and doing it in the times that we've established that we want to celebrate, we want to acknowledge, we want to highlight certain groups that have not received that through history.
I'll go a step further. I'm going to actually intertwine two of our last episodes, one about the genius, right? Where we talked about, we asked the question, how many geniuses have been lost throughout history because they were born in the wrong place at the wrong time, or in another case, were born the wrong gender in the wrong time. Like how many geniuses?
Color, or like think about it. There's so many things that play into that.
Right. I mean, there have probably been more women geniuses lost throughout the course of history than we could ever even count.
Right.
And that hurts everybody.
How many of them are sitting in concentration camps right now? That could be potentially benefiting our society.
Right.
Instead of sitting in a cell.
Yeah.
For just existing.
Yeah. We have to do better.
We have to do better. And hopefully episodes like this push us a little bit closer. Help educate. That's the biggest thing is the education. The more you know, the more educated you are, the better able you are to make decisions, not just for yourself, but for society, And you have to constantly want to learn. The unfortunate reality of education is you get to a point sometimes with education that you think you know better than anyone, especially the older that you get.
Right.
And you have to keep an open mind. You have to be humble about it. You have to realize that, knowledge changes. What we accept as norms change. What we accept as societal, standards change. And that's okay. It's okay to say, this wasn't quite right. We're going to change this a little bit.
Right.
But we don't want to do it in a way that hinders our society at any level. Because then all you're doing is potentially keeping your geniuses in concentration camps.
Right.
And screwing over your own future.
Yeah. People who could change the lives of everybody on the face of the earth. And they're being hidden away.
Yeah. We gotta do better. We gotta do better.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Very much. We appreciate it. Helps us out. You can find us on every major podcasting platform. And as always, until next time.
Bye, everybody.